JJ, that Mets series win show you something?
Yeah, because you saw immediate resiliency from a team that had a terrible start to the year. I mean, let's just think about where we were a week ago. The Mets were 0-5. They were trailing. It looked like they were going to be 0-6 to start their year, with a road trip coming up against the talented Cincinnati Reds team, and then a place that is always, for them, a house of horrors in Atlanta. So, yeah, Sal, to go and see the Mets respond here, win 2 out of 3, fight back the way that they did on Monday. Even in a loss, they fight last night. You wait forever, the bats come alive, and just the way we drew it up, right? They get swept by the Brewers, they lose 2 out of 3 to the Tigers, and then they go and beat the Reds and the Braves, and 4 out of 6. Yeah, that's baseball.
The word fight is what I like that you used there, because the Mets were on the opposite end of this against Atlanta last year. Even in the game they lost, they fight back, they punch back, and it seems like the Braves, they missed the memo that this was an afternoon game. Came out sloppy, they're booting balls. It was like a reversed role situation in this series. I like the fight that the Mets showed, because I think that's the biggest indicator whether they're going to be a winning team this year at all. Will they fight back, come from behind wins, not laying over? That shows a lot about this team.
I got to tell you, when you're the New York Mets and you go to Atlanta, different ballpark completely, but you play against that uniform. I still expect to see Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine, Andrew Jones, Chipper Jones out there. So, yeah, any series win for the Mets in Atlanta, that's a big win.
Yeah, I mean, you look, the Mets did something that they very rarely do, and they did it with a team with no expectations. In years past, the Mets had the expectations. They should have won the division in 2022. I thought the NL East was over. Turned out it wasn't. But anyway, they should have won that division, and they, on paper, could match that Braves team. Last year, going into the season, we had high expectations for the Mets, and they didn't live up to them. But no matter what, even when they were better on paper, they go into Atlanta, and they get beat by the Braves. This year, no expectations. As a matter of fact, we're expecting the Mets maybe the season to end in the first time they see Atlanta coming off that 0-5 start. And the Braves are looming. What's going to happen? And they win 2 out of 3. And even with the loss, you're right, JJ, they showed some fight. So they not only win 2 out of 3 against Atlanta, a team that they never beat in that building, but they do it coming back down 4-0. The game that they lost, they came back from down 6-0 to lose 6-5, and then they clobbered the Braves this afternoon. That is a tremendous series win early on. Now, Brett Baty, a big part of that. He looks like a different player so far this year, JJ.
1,000%. And that, to me, is my big takeaway from what I've seen over the last few games, is this confidence and swagger that you've seen from Brett Baty. A lot more emotion. Obviously, he's been far more productive offensively. I know 1 for 5 is not a great day, but he gets the RBI to get you going. But the defense, this guy looked like an absolute stiff and butchered defensively a year ago. A guy we were talking about as a potential DH. I wondered if he could play the position. And he has done a really nice job in shutting me up, specifically with the way he's been able to go and play third base. I think that's a great sign for the Mets. Now, Sal, Keith brought this up in the broadcast, and I agree wholeheartedly. I want to see how Brett Baty is going to handle a slump. Yep. I want to see how he's going to handle some more adversity, and is he going to respond? Last year he did not. He's talked about that a ton. But if you're a Met fan, you had a lot of questions about, hey, the young players on this team, how could they emerge? How could they be better than what they were a year ago? You're getting great answers so far from Baty.
Yeah, I just love the fact that he looks like he belongs now. You feel it. Where in the past I look at him and I see somebody who's unsure if they should be a big leaguer or not. Now he's feeling himself as a big leaguer. That is a great thing. Emmanuel McNeil had a couple of hits, was on base 4 times. Could this be the breakout game that gets McNeil going?
I think so, and you got to hope so for the rest of the season standpoint, because Jeff McNeil, you have some givens on this Mets team that I'm not too worried about right now. Just early season struggles, but the givens are going to play out for the rest of the season. I'm not worried about Alonso. I'm not worried about Lindor. I'm not worried about Nimmo. But Jeff McNeil, Starling Marte, those guys who you needed more from this season. McNeil's one of those guys that if you're to get back to not 2022, what you did that year, but close to it, you can't have a 0 in production from Jeff McNeil. And those were 2 timely hits today, by the way. 3rd inning,
right.
You're piling on, you're extending the lead. RBI single there, big spot. 7th inning, 3 runs against Quintana. You got to close out that game. 2 out. That's a McNeil hit. That's a timely hit. He needs to get back to that. So the Mets need to hope this is a McNeil they see the rest of the way.
Yeah, it was a tremendous day, tremendous series for the Mets, and maybe it can get these guys going now moving forward.